Entertainment. Hello everyone, live from Chicago. My name is Jesse Silva Zacarias, but people just call me Jesse. This afternoon we are on COPERACHA FUTBOL, another afternoon, now with Alex Herrerias joining us from Berwyn, Illinois. We're going to be touching a few subjects. We're going to talk mainly about Barcelona. I am a fan of Barcelona. This is a passion we both share. So we will be touching that subject. We will be entering the transfer market for a little bit, and then we will also try and talk a little bit, immerse ourselves into the wonders of this pandemic. But first things first, football, soccer. Alex, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Just enjoying the quarantine here as best as I can.
Cool, dude. If anybody wants to follow Alex, um, that's his info on Instagram on top, by his left side of his head, the right side of the what do you call it? The his screen. I'm about to start sharing the screen with you, Alex, to see. I should have gotten notification on YouTube that we're live. We'll see. We'll see. If you have a chance, please subscribe to the channel and share us with whoever you love the most. Um, let's uh, let's do this one exercise, Alex. Who would you think, if the league, La Liga, resumes, and if the transfer market has to be open, right, for when things happen? I mean, the leagues haven't determined yet if the tournaments are gonna resume, or they're gonna be canceled, or they're gonna be called, like, just start from scratch next year. I figure in countries like England, for instance, Liverpool, they will have to give it to them. They were 6 points away from winning it. Despite Gerrard's mistake back then against Chelsea, they've never been that close to win the league in 32 years. So I think they would give it, because in England they're very moralistic, so they probably end up giving it to Liverpool. They're very logical, but in that differs from La Liga, which is where, yeah.
I would say we would probably keep an eye on. I mean, it's not wrong to bring up the Premier League because a lot of leagues piggyback off of each other in terms of seeing how to move forward in a situation like this, especially with the pandemic hitting everyone at once. It's hard to move forward with, I guess, confidence, knowing that you're not shorting one team or another. The Premiership is actually a unique situation because they're so far ahead. With La Liga, I'm kind of curious to see what they do with it because it's really close with Barca and pretty much right going up top, and then even the place below for the European League. I know a lot of people always say La Liga is a two-horse race, but this year we're seeing a lot of mix-up in the bottom four for the six places. So if they do want to postpone it, I've heard people they say that they want to push it. I think 2 months more, but then that would move into the summer break that would normally be given to the players, and they got some way of international tournaments as well. So if they want to postpone it, I don't think that'd be the best route. I think that they should continue it as soon as possible.
Right.
Um, and if the transfer market is open right away, um, they're gonna have to figure out, because what if we get back to the league in May? Because at least in a lot of places, April's out of the question. It's not going to start. So if we're looking at May and June, that's only a month before the transfer market is open again. So
It is, yeah.
I think they should move it open forward because there's a lot of teams right now that are hurting
They're strapped for cash. We've seen a lot of teams try and negotiate salaries as a result of this. So I'm curious to see what they do with it. But I do think that they should start as soon as possible in a healthy enough fashion so that the coronavirus doesn't affect us again.
Right. I mean, the first step would be to have a vaccine and immune system tests done to basically every single one of us to determine who can go out to work in public, and because we don't know the potential hazard of gathering
Right.
again. You don't know. There are not enough studies to determine if you're immune after you're recovered to the virus. Chances
Right.
are you are, because in most cases you are, but this hasn't been submitted to study because it's new, right? So it's not guaranteed that, because it's been really hard actually to contain it, that it makes you wonder if it actually leaves your body
Right.
completely and if you are immune to it afterwards. But
And and the stadiums that we have, I mean, there's thousands of people there, so you never want to be like, I guess you always want to be more cautious than that. And if we want to keep the game going as soon as possible, then we definitely should be pushing people to take tests. I know a lot of people have conspiracy theories against the medical tests, but
right.
at this point, if we don't move forward with them, we already see the economy kind of taking a hit. So, I mean, I know where it's mainly a football channel, but
Right.
everything's tied into politics and economics. So we have to focus on those as well, which is important, obviously. But the game comes first, obviously, in this.
Yeah, the game in this case on our show comes first.
Right.
So back to where we left, I would think La Liga would have to cancel it. I mean, there at the end of the day, it's between the two teams, and
Mhm.
both teams are 2 points, 1 point, 2 points apart. And there is. By the way, I got a text by someone who told me you
Mhm.
were very low your volume at the beginning, but I got a chance to fix it. In the morning, I did a show and nothing went wrong. Today, one production mistake that yeah.
Going back to starting if they want to call the league where it is now, I'm pretty sure La Liga has smart enough people. I would hope so, to where they can devise kind of like a knockout round. We've seen it before, kind of like a Copa del Rey situation where you take the top four teams and you do a runoff. It'd be a simple, dry run of what the top four could provide in terms of performing in a game. It'd just be you could do it over two legs if you want, and then have the final game just be a single game.
Right.
But it'd be hard to pick up the season, the bits and pieces that we have now, and there's just so much soccer to play that it's
Right.
hard to call it. But yeah, if we do cut it short, I would definitely suggest a tourney of sorts to try and, I guess, make up revenue because a lot of the smaller clubs need it. And I know Barca and them and Madrid aren't small clubs, but the next two teams, it's Madrid and who's the fourth league? Who's fourth in La Liga right now?
I've been paying so much attention to this COVID-19 that and obviously I've been fighting this pandemic. I mean, this to me is a pandemic. The computer problems. I was texting you earlier and yesterday about how I had to switch the graphics card in the computer, and it
Right.
was just really something else, dude.
So I just pulled it up. It looks like Sevilla is third place. Real Sociedad is fourth place. So those two teams, we tend to only think of Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid and Barca being at the top three, but these are
Right.
teams that need the money. And if they have a chance to go head to head with these other giants, I mean, we've seen Sevilla be at the Europa level multiple
Right.
years, winning it. I think they have a team that could beat Real Madrid, Barcelona on their off day. Real Sociedad maybe won't make it as far. They'll probably be one of the weaker teams if they do a runoff stage like this. But um, I mean, even if they want to go up to the sixth place, that does bring in Real Madrid and Getafe. So it'd
Right.
be a fun situation because you have three heavyweights, three probably middle table teams. So it'd be interesting to see if they do the route.
Right. I mean, the important. I think either Barcelona and Real Madrid can play a final, right?
Hmm.
Because they are considerably ahead in points to Sevilla, the third place. They're 9 points behind, so
Right.
they could do maybe a semifinal between the first four, which would be Real Sociedad, which funny to say they were beaten by Barcelona in the last game of the league, 1-0 for Barcelona. By the way, Messi scored, right?
I
Was it
don't
a
remember the game all
penalty?
too well.
Penalty?
Was that the one? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, and then Messi sprinted on the 96th minute. Yeah, I remember. I remember. Oh no,
Gotcha.
that was the second. Yeah, second to last one. Dude, my memory is terrible. But what I was saying, they could either give it to Barcelona or Real Madrid on a final. You know, they can do that. But most importantly, the relegation, the bottom three. That's really important. That
Right.
it's got to be defined who goes up or who goes down. You know, because the same case goes for La Liga. What is it? The second division.
Hmm. Yeah, it greatly impacts them. And the bottom three, I saw Espanyol here. Who are the other two?
Yeah,
Oh, Leganes
Español.
y Mallorca. Okay.
Español is in very last place. Very, very, very. Leganés from Mexican Javier Aguirre, who they got Martin Braithwaite from, by the way. They got their one and only forward. Tell me if that's fair in La Liga. That's not fair because they don't
No,
even
not at
have
all.
a
They
chance to buy anybody. You know, the
right.
transfer window is completely gone. There should be a better regulations where you cannot take the last forward of a team that's fighting the relegation positions. It makes no sense. It makes no
It's
sense.
funny. You just reminded me. In manager mode in FIFA, there's if a team is short in certain positions, the computer prevents you from selling the player. And it's funny how the computer game, which is made by FIFA, can follow that rule.
Right,
But in a situation like this, not only do you take one of the only weapons away from a smaller team, you
right,
only allow a bigger team to get better.
right.
It kind of negates the whole idea of fairness. And I was just looking up the video of Real Sociedad, and yeah, it was the one penalty. You confused me for a second when you said in the 90th. I thought you said 90th minute, but I think I misheard.
It
But
was like
yeah, it was the one with
96th
the penalty.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because was it when he assisted Ansu Fati,
Yeah, that was it.
and
It
then
was I'm watching it right now. It was
Jordi Alba scored the second one, but it
right.
was the VAR took it away.
Yeah, just by a foot. It was like the edge of his foot. It was sad. But VAR brings up now that you bring up VAR. VAR is a really interesting situation where I was really against it when it first started coming on because we have always said the sport is very human and natural sport,
Right,
and to bring in technology is always kind of strange.
right,
One of the first times I ever saw technology being brought into soccer was when they were putting chips into soccer balls and into your cleats for like recording of data.
right.
And that one was a little far fetched for me. But now, after time, I'm starting to see VAR is starting to be more beneficial than not because there are a lot of errors in the game,
Right.
and
No,
it's
that
human error. I mean, you can't get mad at it.
the thing is that it's at the end interpretation, and there gotta be better ways to do it. I think that the international board, there are a bunch of old dudes that don't want to lose. I don't know what benefit they get from certain rules. It took them forever to apply VAR. I get it that it's expensive and all, but don't tell me FIFA doesn't have, I mean, don't have as an organization the power to provide VAR. You know, like
Right.
according to the Mexican league, the teams, the Mexican league teams are the ones paying for it, not the federation and not the actual league. Is the team subsidizing it? So this is just it's just to justify, the corruption that still exists in the soccer, and the mistakes that are still been made by refs, and by because it's so easy to control the emotions of a game
Right.
by
And
making
it's
mistakes.
and especially with VAR, FIFA's always been one to say that they want to follow the rules, but they always have corruption scandals and stuff like that. But mainly when they want to set up rules, they don't really want to follow them on a universal scale. It's kind of what we saw. I hate to bring up the pandemic again, but we see the pandemic rollout in the US. We only saw bits and pieces of states doing what they were supposed to be doing by doing mandates.
Right.
And it's kind of the same situation here with VAR, where it's at a club level, not at a, I guess you would hear like a federal level, but the FIFA level,
Right.
where if you want to have the game be cleaner on a universal level, you have to put those rules and you have to find a way to implement them where it's accessible. And a lot of clubs can't afford to pay an additional X amount of fee to have recording. And it's not even just an initial fee, it's an ongoing fee throughout the year. You have to pay your refs, additional people to monitor it, more software. So everyone always thinks these clubs have tons of money, but a lot of the clubs end up being smaller end. They only get X amount of percentages from broadcasting rights. So again,
Right.
if they want to make FIFA Fair Play be a real thing,
Right.
they should probably find a logical way to do it to make it equitable.
Well, the thing is that FIFA, just as the head of the continent, of the continent, yeah, the universe of the United States. No, the head of our country, dude, should have been prepared for something like this.
Right.
FIFA should have been too, because it's an organization that has more affiliates than the United Nations. So like that's something to think about, and something to think about and point a finger at it, that
Right.
they make enough money. Every single federation in the world pays their duties to FIFA, and they get money from Adidas in the first place. They get money from Coca-Cola, McDonald's. Who are their main? Who else are their main
You have like
sponsors?
MasterCard,
Mastercard, yeah, or Visa, or Florentino Perez. A bunch of people subsidize FIFA.
the
And
grandfather of all.
right. But no, but what I mean by this is that FIFA has the money, and but they weren't prepared for something like this, because most teams in the world are gonna go to bankruptcy.
Mm.
Most teams, no teams in the world are getting money from the games, the remaining games of the season, because they're not playing them. You take for granted that every game is getting played because of TV rights,
Right.
and TV rights
Especially,
pay per game. It does say that in the contract. We just all assume the games are going to be played, so they
yeah, I was gonna
count with
say
that money.
when it's especially written down by with a per number of contracts or per number of game in the contract. Um, we always need to remember like the players. A lot of the big names like Messi. We always think of Messi as a big player because he is, and PK, but not everybody is at that level. A lot of these they're professional players, but they don't make a ton of money. The average income, I don't know the number offhand, but it's like in the U.S. MLS players, they don't make a ton of money, but we expect them to have a certain lifestyle because they're professional soccer players.
Right.
But it's a year end training. It's like baseball players, they get paid millions and millions of dollars, but that's not everybody.
Right.
And that's why broadcasting rights, it's huge for a lot of these smaller clubs, because it really is their lifeline. And if you do have to cut the season short,
Right.
like we don't really know what's going to happen to the union players or the union that the players are a part of, um, how that's going to affect the following year. It turns into a big problem that again FIFA should have thought of in advance because a pandemic. Bill Gates had a talk about this years
Right.
ago, and it's as if nobody had seen it. there's a bunch of tools out there that FIFA could have had at hand, or maybe they're just ignorant. I mean, it's a lot of things that could have happened, but there's tools out there that FIFA could have done to be a little more preventative about it. I feel.
Well, they did give some money to the poor countries. They did that, but it's
Hmm.
very little money in comparison comparing to how much they make every
Right.
World Cup. They profit off of countries. Because FIFA doesn't pay for the organization of a World Cup. Let's make that clear. It's the
Yeah.
countries and the taxpayers who pay for that. The same
They just
same
find
with the
someone to
Olympics.
pay for it all.
Right. I mean, they're the cities that host Olympics rely heavily on tourism.
Hmm.
So, for instance, when the Olympics and the World Cup were hosted in Brazil, there were there was not enough infrastructure in the cities to host millions of people at once. In each city, enough hotels, enough roads for easy access. There was nothing like that, and there was a bridge that collapsed in Brazil because and people were killed too because and during the World Cup or like days before the World Cup because things were made
Quickly
like
and cheaply.
quickly and cheaply. Yeah, yeah. So that brings me back to the point that I was saying that FIFA is really powerful and they don't pay for the organization of World Cups. It's the taxpayers of the people of the country that is organizing it that pay for it.
And then you see a lot of issues. It's kind of the same thing happened with the Russian Olympics. Those stadiums sit there after a while. We see a lot of countries having to pay maintenance on stadiums that they don't use,
Right.
and it just ends up being a huge. It's basically just a monument to the almighty FIFA gods,
Right.
and it doesn't really make sense because instead of choosing cities that already have venues, they try to promote the brand new feel of a new FIFA World Cup with new stadiums, but at
Right.
what cost?
Right.
And it's something that we need to start remembering. It's like the Olympics when they wanted to bring it to Chicago. We didn't have the infrastructure and we lost the bid. And nobody here wanted to put more money into the taxes, or no taxpayer wanted to put more money into it because they knew it was going to be a tax rate. What was it? The Olympic Village was going to be right on the lakefront. That would have been a disaster. None of it really seemed too well planned out, but of course, Mayor Daley wanted it to happen. Almost did happen. I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Is it feasible that Barcelona would get Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milano?
That one, I'm not sure. I actually saw a an article the other day. It was talking about how Messi had a behind the closed door meeting with the higher ups at Barca, and I think he did put. I mean, since a while ago, he was talking about him, and he probably did put in a good word a couple months back. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure he had another conversation with him recently, but I don't think that they would make the move, especially with everyone else at the club wanting a big signing. Not that he's not a big name, but when you have other names in the mix like Neymar, they still got to figure out what to do with Coutinho. It looks like Bayern might buy him at the end of the season. So if they want to use that money to get maybe two big signings and include Lauro, that'd be great. I just think that he won't be the primary signing coming in.
To be honest, I think if I were Conte from Inter, I would never let Lautaro Martinez go because he's your best player.
Hmm.
Despite you have an excellent defender on Skriniar or an incredible goalie on Handanovic. Actually, I would have put my money on Inter Milano to win the Europa League, but I would not let Lautaro Martinez leave. No, because if they want to
No,
build, and I think Ayedo Braida, who was part of the Barca, I think he was assistant director or sports director for Barcelona a few years ago. He did say in an interview that why would you get rid of Lautaro Martinez if you want to build a winner team,
right.
which I've been saying this whole time. Like I wouldn't think he would go to Barcelona just because he's that good that you don't want to let him go and you want to build around him. You know.
You actually bring up a good point. I was reading an article just 2 days ago talking about Coutinho and Klopp. It's almost the same situation there where Coutinho left Liverpool, and that money freed up all the situation for Liverpool to move and get Van Dijk, a couple other players that took him to the next level. So maybe this could be a situation where if they do let go of Lauro, it could take Inter to the next step and now contend for the Champions League. Like you were saying, if they do secure the Europa League, they'll be in the Champions League. They'll have a stronger team if they do sell and use that cash wisely.
Right.
So maybe this is their chance to pull that situation that Liverpool did with selling of Coutinho. But then it might have a downside effect on Lauro because that same article was saying the situation of Coutinho is one that happens with a lot of modern young footballers now is that they fall too quick into contracts that become their dream signing. You know, these guys are 22, 24 when they make it to the big names, and then they either get too much pressure or injuries, whatever it is, it gets in the way of them fulfilling their potential.
Right.
So maybe Lauro should stay another year, but this could also be a chance for Inter to pivot and make a crucial move and get money in that they could use too.
Yeah, exactly. I think they could. I mean, they could also sell Lukaku. They could sell Inter. You know, they could sell a
Well,
bunch of players. And
I would say real
what
quick,
Barca? Yeah,
Lukaku's. I would say they should hold on to him because he's a unique physical type in Italy. Because look at now that Ronaldo is at Calcio Piemonte, and you have Zlatan over at AC. They're all tall players.
right,
They need someone strong up front, and Lauro isn't all too tall. He's a great footballer, but I wouldn't say he's the presence that you need entirely to score. He's your center forward, but I feel like right now, based on other teams in Serie A or Calcio,
right.
um, I think you need a taller player to try and compete and get air balls in because Italian soccer is very defensive. It's hard to move the ball on the ground, and I think that's what a lot of these stronger teams are starting to realize is that playing up in the air is coming back a little more.
Right. Well, also, I firmly believe that that in Italy they're a little too racist.
That might push him away too.
So yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So I think that that's a good thing for Lukaku to leave, and I think that would be that's possible that he wants to leave because of he's uncomfortable and he's too good, you know, to be suffering that
It
from
happened to Balotelli, right?
ignorant
Right.
people. Yeah, I mean, Balotelli is Italian. They're doing him to their
Their own
own
people.
people. That's why we're in a situation like we are right now, you know, because people didn't take a serious thing seriously. Oh, by the way, just to make a little break, and I want to show you something. Uh, this thing is what I'm showing you. Oh shoot. Okay. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Anyway, well, I'm showing. Oh yeah, I know how to do this. Sorry, I was having a brain flatulence. Uh, this is what I want to show you. This,
Okay.
and I want to show the people too. This, I. This was taken. This was taken yesterday, as of no 2 days ago. I'm sorry, 2 days ago, as of 8:40 p.m. Montevideo time.
Mhm.
Tell me if that's not crazy, man. That is the air traffic,
Still.
and you see the people in the rest of South America, they're not really flying, and all of the traffic in the U.S. is ridiculous. But we can talk about something else. Sorry.
Actually, is there a way you can look up the European, or is that only what you have right now? The
That's the
what's over
only.
North America? Okay.
Right, I don't know anybody. This was Alejandro Echeverri. He works for a different company. He's an actual journalist. I'm just an aficionado that does a
Oh,
good
okay.
job, or a decent job.
Yeah. Well, we can. I mean, if you want to touch base on it real quick, we were just talking about it, my friends and I. There's something strange about the American psychology here, where we know the virus exists. We're not ignorant of science, but we don't like to follow basic instructions for some reason.
Yeah,
Um, as easy as staying at home.
that could be called white privilege.
Yeah, you just want to do what you want to do at your own pace.
Right. Muy interesting. Muy interesting. Uh,
That's a
well,
lot. That's a lot of traffic.
that's a lot of traffic, man. That is a lot of traffic. And a lot of it is coming from Europe. But you have
Hmm.
the walking Cheeto telling us that none of that is happening. So who do you believe? The traffic air controller in South America who's got access to this, or who's lying?
Right.
Right. It's just terrible. It's lie after lie after lie. We are disposable, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's almost as if people don't want it. I mean, you hear it all the time. People who support him, they say, "Well, where did you get that?"
Right.
Just go on YouTube. I mean, it's very easy to go and Google something that he said 30 minutes ago. We
Yeah,
live in the
because.
world where everything is instant,
Hmm.
and it's not hard to imagine that an idiot like him had said something idiotic.
Right. I'm gonna I'm gonna share it with you too, this thing, and share it with the audience too, whoever's watching. This was a while ago. Um, sorry. Uh, my mom actually is the one who sent it to me, which it's awesome. The best part is that my mom sent it to me. My mom. Ah, no, I can't send it. Never mind. I'm gonna stop talking about it. So, going back to Lautaro Martinez, we both agree that he would not go to Barcelona. Chances are slim, right?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty slim. Right now, Barca, especially if they're short on cash, like they were saying, and they're having a tough situation getting everybody on board with cutting their salary. I don't know if they'd make two big signings. I'd say they'd put all their juice into one. Um, I don't know how much Lauda would fetch for in the market right now. I haven't seen any numbers surrounding him, just rumors.
Right. Well, Barcelona wants to give them Rakitic and get him for down to like 120 million because he's about 160. I haven't checked the last numbers, but
Hmm.
back then, according to Transfer Market, that is one of the most one of the most what do you call it? What people recur to
Oh, okay.
when they're looking for people's or for players prices. Transfer Market.
He
Let's
pops up a lot.
see. What's up?
Like his information pops up a lot, as if like he's being recently searched,
No, but
or what?
if you ever wanna check it out,
Mhm.
Transfer Market without the E, Transfer Market. Uh, they have pretty alright information on the fluctuation of uh, prices for players. So right now, Transfer Market is saying its cost is somewhere around the $70 million.
Hmm.
$70 million. So Rakitic would not leave for another team that's not Sevilla, despite Atletico de Madrid wants to get
Hmm.
him. He wants to go to Sevilla. His wife is from there. He played a bunch of consecutive years there, winning the
Right,
Europa
for a while.
League like 3 times in a row. So he wants to go there because he has earned the right, playing for Barcelona, suffering
Yeah, he's
Busquets
delivered.
for so many
Yeah,
years. He's got he's earned the right to choose where he wants to go. You know.
I agree. I would say he's off the table for any transfers. The only people that I would say were on the table as bargaining chips.
Right.
I know Griezmann, his contract's pretty fresh, but it seems like all the rumors are surrounding him. Um, Maybe he would stay for another year so they don't feel like they wasted their money.
Right.
But I think right now, maybe it's just taking him a little longer to settle in. He's not that he's having bad chemistry, because they do have good games here and there, but it's not consistent enough to say that he was worth waiting, making it almost a 3-year wait period since the rumors first started when they
Right.
wanted to buy him. And then the following year, they said, oh, the contract's almost up. And then the following year, they finally bought him. So the Barcelona board has been made to be seen ridiculous before. I don't think they want it to happen again,
Right.
especially with all these resignations that happened, corruption allegations. Um, so unless they outright sell him and get their money back, they might hold on to him for a year. Because I don't think PSG is going to want to trade or do anything with Neymar. He's not worth it to bring Mbappe.
Dude, I mean, let's face it, especially during this crisis, who's gonna buy Neymar?
Yeah,
I like that outrageous price. No bank is gonna loan you that much money anymore. You know,
right.
all banks are saturated. All banks in the world are saturated right now, processing loans, grants. You know, you think, I mean, Neymar is gonna have to retire at PSG. He's the prisoner of the golden,
The Golden
jail.
Jail. Yeah.
Yeah, as well as well. Here's where my opinion, and sorry, we're just jumping from subject to subject. My opinion on Mbappe is that he's that he's more likely to leave PSG because the what's his name, Al Khelaifi. I don't think he's got the authority to just sell or like to retain Mbappe, because Mbappe,
Hmm.
he's French. He would, if he became a little rebellious, he would have to let him go. There's
Hmm.
no way you can hold Rabiot. That's fine. He's an okay player, but you cannot do that with Mbappe. You know, the media would immediately eat him alive. Eat Al Khelaifi alive. So the chances of Neymar leaving PSG are very slim, I think, because the investment. They bought Mbappe for like 80 million or something like that
Yeah,
to Monaco, because he had a really good season though.
and they would make
And
their money back and then some. With Neymar,
Neymar, you gotta make the money back. I mean, he's got 3, 4 more years of selling millions of shirts
yeah,
in Brazil alone.
and it's sad. I mean, it's not really sad because Neymar kind of brought this onto himself.
Right. Oh, he's gonna
Um,
remain there.
yeah, it's unfortunate that he's really the one piece of the puzzle that's keeping a lot of things from moving.
Right.
And it's not even a piece that you really want at a certain point, because I think Barca's dream about him is now starting to go away little by little.
Right.
PSG is obviously able to lean on him when they need, but you could tell he's not happy there. The fans don't really want him there. You saw at the beginning of the season they were kind of just making fun of him. So I mean, it's a mixed situation over there. But eventually he'll figure it out where he'll have to give up money to be at a club that he really wants to be at.
That's what he did with Barcelona. He paid off the clause, and
Right.
then that was part of the contract included with PSG. Through I think, how many seasons has he been in this is third season in
This would be his
PSG.
third, yeah.
So he hasn't been paid the 200. I mean, PSG hasn't, paid him the 250, $220 million yet. An accumulation of things, overall, PSG haven't paid him that much yet.
Hmm.
You know,
And
it's
knowing
through
him and
a
his dad,
contract. It's like
yeah, they're gonna stick
400,
to it.
400 total, right? 400 million, I think it's the deal. So they would get 180.
Yeah, it's with bonuses, and if they make appearances at certain trophy levels, yeah, it's a pretty hefty price.
Right. Hey, dude, do you want to take uh, a quick pause?
Sure.
Cool. All right. Thanks for staying with us. We'll take a brief pause, and we'll be back with you. Just give me a second, dude. Do you feel like I should put music on?
Yeah, that probably help.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I think I messed it up. Oh no, there you go. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We're about to go on a pause. Welcome back to your COPERACHA FUTBOL English show. Back with Alex Herrerias. If you want to follow him, if you like his commentary, look him up at Alex Herrerias on Instagram. So we are coming back mainly talking about Barcelona, the possibilities of new signings. Who knows if the season will resume, if it will be cancelled. We don't know. We don't know if we're gonna be eating actual fresh food in the next month. We don't know. So back to our beloved team Barcelona. We always look at them and from a not from a like a groupie perspective. We are very analytical of the game ever since I met you. Since I knew you like Barcelona, we
Yeah.
have had really intense conversations. Going back to it, what do you think about Ter Stegen? People in the media keep on saying he should get, a better contract. He should be treated as like in the kind of the podium or
Right.
like steps of salary or levels of salary they have at Barcelona. Uh, Most people want him in the same group of as Suarez and Piqué and Busquets and that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd probably say he's a step above Busquets for sure.
Right.
Um, I would say he should get a contract that's a little better than what he has now, but he is also young. He probably is falling a lot into what his agent is telling him, like demanding a higher wage. Especially in La Liga, you have some of the best goalkeepers there, so I could see why he's asking for more. He should be demanding a higher price to a certain degree, but again, Barca is a club that does renew Messi's contract almost every year because he is Messi. I wouldn't put him in the same level. So I think Ter Stegen has to realize maybe right now is not the best situation, especially given the shortage of funds with ticket sales.
Right.
So when the time comes, he'll be able to ask for it. I think if he wins at least a trophy this year, he'll for sure seal it. Um, but it all depends on how they want to handle the rest of the domestic situation and then how they handle the Champions League.
Right.
The Champions League is a little easier to clean up because it is in the knockout phases, already in the second leg. So I can see them continuing on, but shortening up the rest time in between.
Right.
Um, but yeah, when it comes to the domestically, I'm kind of curious how that'll affect his contract and him trying to grab a bigger slice of the pie because we were talking about earlier, it's so close to the top right now that he's not necessarily in a good bargaining position because we can't buy a product that we're not really sure how it's going to perform. He's produced in the past, obviously consistently, but right now Barca, it's been leaking goals since the beginning of the season, left and right. That's why we haven't secured first place entirely.
Right.
Um, and he's even criticized the back line too, so it's not always his fault. I'll back him up on that one 100%. But Barca should, going back to the transfer real quick, I wanted to say this earlier before we switched to Ter Stegen. This is the one spot that I think Barca should be looking into, and for years should have found a good replacement at the center back position. Because not only do you have to worry about Piqué not being mentally there, you have to make sure that Busquets is also being covered, so you have to find someone who can do two people's job at once.
Right, yeah. I mean, we all coincide, at least with the people I talk about soccer, we all coincide that, fans and not fans of Barcelona, we all coincide that Busquets has seen his best years. We get he is one of the key players in the consecutive. How many consecutive titles do Barcelona
Oh, the
have?
domestic? Oh,
The
yeah.
domestic titles, which are the indication that you're having a good or bad season. The local league. So Barcelona has won a bunch of titles with Busquets in it in the past. Do you want to count them? I feel like we shouldn't, but
Yeah, but because I
because
feel
we're
like the argument
focusing
might
on
make him look a little better because
right, right, right,
he happened to be a part. It's like saying the most important part of your car is the tires. Like, yes and no. It's probably your engine because the tires are after you put the car together.
right,
Busquets would be one of the tires, not even all the tires, because
right.
you have Xavi, Iniesta, Messi. You can get a replacement wheel that will do 10 times the job that Busquets does.
Yeah, I think he's the luckiest player who has ever lived.
Yeah.
You know, because you look back on AC Milan in the 90s, there were no weak players. You know,
Hmm.
you look back at Pep's Barcelona, who won at Bernabeu 2-6. There were no weak players because
Right.
Busquets wasn't there then. It was Yaya Toure who oh, dude, like, how could Barcelona let Yaya Toure go for Busquets? That is just mere
It's just politics at
Barcelonismo,
that point. Yeah.
Barcelonismo, and that's it. That's a decision based on who do I like the most, not who
Right.
is the best player. But anyway, going back to again to Busquets, he has been one of the players that in every goal that Barcelona is scored against, he's never well positioned. You know, it's normally someone winning his back. Coming around him, and he doesn't know where the ball is. He encounters the ball with the eyes closed. So I totally understand what you say that in order to have Busquets playing, you need to have two or three more players doing extra work to cover
Right.
his position, and that is counterproductive. That is not how a team should work because it's a team. If you have one privileged player and the Barcelona team, it's Messi. It can't be Busquets because when was the
Yeah.
last time Busquets scored a goal or took an assist?
And the worst part too is that you can totally tell his position can be played by anybody because he's a pivot. A pivot has to be able to just be able to pass sideways, and he's not even good under pressure because he tends to lose possession. He's weak. He doesn't have good balance. So it's like again, I don't really know what he does except for divert the ball and accidentally make an assist that looks interesting to Messi.
Right. And
Like he's a I don't know, he's not even a really good defensive player in my mind because he lacks the strength, the running, the defensive mindedness that you need. He's kind of aloof, I guess is the perfect word for him.
yeah, and I mean, I have this one particular, condition to determine who's a good defender and who is not. If you can protect the ball, you're a good defender. Busquets cannot protect the ball to save
No.
his life. Every time he tries to protect the ball, he goes down on the ground, calling for a foul, or it starts a counterattack against Barcelona that
Hmm.
ends up with a goal, chance against. So,
And then they pan
and
to
it's
him on the camera and he's all sad.
right,
I've
and then
seen
he
that too
never
many
drops
times.
back
Yeah.
to amend his mistakes. He I don't know, man. He's a privileged player that you could have played what he plays. I could have played what he plays. Anybody could play what he plays. A 50-year-old skill. Put Eric Cantona over there. Put Messi in 40 years. He'll perform better than Busquets.
I think even Maradona in his age right now,
He
after all the
would be better
drugs, would be
than
doing better.
Busquets. Yes, yes, much better. Yeah. But switching to a different subject, so Ousmane Dembele, there's no way they can find a way out for him. According to Sport de Catalunya Dairy, Sports Dairy, they say that Juventus and Inter Milan are looking for his services, but I think those are just speculations because
Hmm.
who's gonna want to buy this player who gets injured left and right
Yeah,
and has not actually shown he's a world champion. as well as Hugo Lloris and Oliver Giroud, who did not have a shot on goal in the whole World Cup. He's a world champion, as well as
Busquets is a
Dembele.
world champion.
Yeah. To put in that perspective, yeah.
Yeah,
Arbeloa is a
public
world
figure.
champion. Yeah.
Yeah, Dembele, he's an interesting character because he came into Barca with a lot of hype, but it's mainly because we missed out on Neymar that year, and they needed somebody to seem interesting.
Right.
And Dembele is not that player. He's a good player, but he's, like you said, always injured. He's aggressive, but he's not too defensive minded. And Neymar, he wasn't overly defensive minded, but he would drop back. He would be a little aggressive. I don't really see that in Dembele. He tends to be in good attacking position, but I mean, I wouldn't trust him to play Barcelona style all too well.
Dembele, no, he's a more aggressive. I mean, he's good. If you had a better, better formation, because Barca is not built to counterattack. Because
No.
normally Alba, when it's time to counterattacking, he's all the way back, you know. And I don't understand. They use him. They use Alba mostly to attack, you know. But when it's time to use his speed, he's all the way back, you know. And he's like, as you mentioned before, he's an almost 30-year-old or 30-year-old player. So there's no way he's up to those that type of strength
Right.
game after game after game for 60 games a year. So I think
Catches up.
Dembele is made for those types of games. But once again, Barcelona is not designed to play like that because of mere pride and nothing else. You know, they don't want to play like that because what the media would say, or like what the sport would say, or Mundo Deportivo would say, or RAC 1 or Catalunya Radio, because what they call entorno, you know, the surroundings of the club are super heavy, you know, and just to get used to it, it's gotta take a lot of gray hair off of, or like a lot of nutrients from you just stressing out about the Barca job.
And Barca has all these players like you see Madrid play the same style that Barca wishes they could play down the wing more, because they have all these players that could run the speed. I mean, Dembele is probably one of the fastest players on the Barca squad, if not the fastest player. He would be equivalent to Bale, always injured, really quick, can deliver, but again, they don't necessarily fit the club that they're at.
Right.
But they both play obviously a different style of football, but they're almost in the same situation where right now they're almost being used as bargaining chips because they're no longer valuable in the sense that they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Right.
And then on the other end, you have Griezmann, who's consistently played out of position. So I'm not really sure what it is Barca's doing or what they're planning on doing on the left wing, because they don't have a right wing, they don't have a left wing or a dedicated left wing. They don't have people that aren't injured. So if they were going to spend money in two places, I would put it on the wings or at center back.
Right.
Because again, Umtiti's always injured, so that's another person you got to worry about.
Oh, dude, he's the best defender we have, and it sucks he's always injured. But yeah, dude. I mean, I'm from the theory because I played soccer for over 20 years. I've been a coach. I've been a ref. I've coached women, besides coaching men and children. So I forgot where my thought was. Yes, I know. I came back right away. I'm from the theory, or I have the theory that any left or right back can play as central midfielder, and vice versa if the central midfielder is fast. Because you have the positioning, you know, and when you are on the wing, you see a line, you know, and when you are liberated from that, you know, what do you call it? That limited, work to do as a winger. In midfield, you have more liberty, and it's the step is becoming from
It makes
a
you more
wing,
creative having to
right?
move too.
And because it makes you think more possibilities of getting out of a situation because your space is limited to one of the sides of the field. So when you are brought from right or left back onto a midfielder position, that's where your possibilities, expand, and there's a bigger chance for you to succeed. Or a lot of forwards too can be midfielders. Look at Casemiro; he was a forward, and then he ended up being the best central midfielder in the world.
That's actually something that I had to switch from the team that I'm on right now. I used to play more in the central midfield, pushing up towards center forward. They would put me on the wing sometime, but then we have a really slow back line, so I actually asked to be put at the right back position.
Right.
And it's a really nice position because you can try and push up as far as you want in attack without, well, you have to remember to always come back on defense.
Right.
But you do fall into that central defensive midfield position where you do have the ability to pull the strings like you want.
Right.
And if you want to go up and attack, you can. I try to stay more on the defensive side because I'd rather use my speed to recover my position than go up for attack.
Right.
And it's nice. I mean, it's a refreshing pace. Whenever I go to the park, you like you were talking about, you see lines for the passes open up when you move to the center. Because as a
Right.
right back position, you are very limited. You can work down the line. You never want to pass too much to the inside because the defender might cut you off, and you're playing counter. You have to go on the counter now.
Right.
So yeah, it's good to see that Barca does have those players. Like Semedo can play on either side or in the center. Roberto can play. I wouldn't say either side, but he can definitely play that midfield position very well. His right back
Yes.
position is the best, but
Yes.
he's
But
perfect in the center.
dude, he's perfect. But I mean, he's not that good at finishing. And sorry for interrupting you on this one.
Oh my god.
But he should be playing the Busquets position, because
Yeah, for
if
years
you
he
don't
should have been
have
playing.
him going into the attacking position, and most likely he's gonna miss it. He's not gonna score. Let's face it. Not all games are against PSG on a quarterfinal. Or it wasn't a quarterfinal. It was the Sweet 16, right?
Right, right.
But once again, Sergi Roberto normally misses his chances. So if you have him not missing the chances on a front line, as an attacker, and as an attacking midfielder, or as an interior, like they call it in Spanish, you have him on Busquets' position. You just have him covered whatever rebound, and then he can drop back, not like Busquets, and
Yeah, I
then
was gonna say
if
right now
it's
he's actually
required,
someone who will go back and put his effort into it. Busquets kind of turns off as soon as he loses possession.
right, right. Oh, cool. Look, man, just to make a little quote, you look great. This is the YouTube. Oh shoot, I gotta see. Oh shoot, there you go. And you sound great, dude. Love your voice.
the audio?
Yeah, love your voice.
Oh, yes. Thanks.
Yeah, so that is one Ousmane Dembele. So
Let me ask you a question, actually.
Yeah.
What's one position that you think, or a position and a player to fill that position that you want to see at Barca that hasn't been in the news?
a position that I want to fill.
Yeah, like if you think Barca needs an attack or defense, someone that hasn't been linked with rumors that you think would be a good fit.
I'm repetitive about Busquets, but it's all his fault. It's a whole balance of the. It's like, what do you do without that orifice you have to secrete, you know, that what your body, what your stomach, disposes.
Hmm.
You know, what what would you do without it? You know, you would eventually rot like from the inside out, right?
Right.
So that's what happened to Barcelona. They don't have a central midfielder. They haven't had one for 8 years
Hmm.
with Busquets. They haven't
They can
had
never
that,
go far
and
enough.
they've
That's what it
tried,
is.
but they've tried every single option. Iniesta's gone, Xavi's gone, Alves is gone,
Fabregas is gone.
Rakitic is about to leave. Fabregas is gone. Neymar is gone. Pedro is gone. You name them. You name them. Everybody has come and gone. Everybody
Right.
has been blamed, but Busquets. Tell me if that makes any sense. And
I know they hold on
that
to him like he's a talisman, but like you said, he's
he,
not Messi.
right, he's not Messi. You know, like nobody has to be that privileged. Nobody but Messi. But
Mhm.
anyway, that is the main key that Barcelona needs. Just playing with 11 players rather than playing with 10 when Busquets
Yeah.
plays. But if you choose to keep Busquets, you can have Busquets, you know, looking at the corner kick, facing the other way and have the rest of the players. So you know you're playing with 10 rather than thinking your teammate is covering that position and your teammate can't even realize he's got to cover some space. They can't. That thought does not cross
Right.
Busquets' mind. But I would get a central midfielder that is younger, that can be as Arturo Vidal, but we know Arturo Vidal can't play 90 minutes. So I would sign a player like him, like a younger Vidal, a player that's gonna, you know, really revolution or like really rev up
Yeah, I got you.
the midfield
Like bring
because
energy to the game.
right, it's really lethargic. You look at the a Barca game. Every player receives the ball, thinks for 3-4 seconds, walks the ball, and then
Yeah.
takes a pass.
They play
What?
possession too much.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you this then. So if this younger player, it would have to be someone who works well with De Jong, and De Jong, he covers really well, he passes really well, and he's not too much of a goal score threat. So you would want someone like Vidal's not too much of a goal score threat either, but he does score. When he does score, it's impressive.
Right.
So you want someone that complements him. So who do you think would do well with De Jong then?
Either Ricky Puig or Artur Melo and
Okay.
Rakitic. I think Rakitic still belongs in that because you don't have a player who's got that's that quick in the mind like
Hmm.
Rakitic. Rakitic is super quick in the mind. He
He
can
just reacts, yeah.
change the game. He can switch his his. Oh man, I don't know that terminology in English. Perfil. When you receive the ball with either the right foot or the left foot,
Oh,
and you
ambidextrous. Yeah, when it's ambidextrous.
direct the ball onto the right direction, to have advantage, rather than receiving the ball and standing still.
Yeah, his
You know,
first touch is really good. It's weird because when I say someone reacts, it's almost like in a bad intention.
right,
But when he reacts, it's with purpose.
right,
Um, it's almost the opposite of Busquets, where he reacts and is behind a couple steps.
right. He's
This
got
guy knows how to push it forward. He doesn't have to react in a
right.
negative since he is already there.
Well, yeah. I mean, Busquets seems like most of the game he doesn't know what he's gonna do when he gets the ball. Rakitic, he knows what he's gonna do. He knows his next 3 steps after he
Right.
gets the ball. Like yeah.
And Puig, he's been really good the few times I've seen him come on as a sub. I haven't seen him start all too many times.
Who?
His last Puig.
Oh, Puig, Ricky Puig. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Puig. He's quick. For being a small guy, he's kind of strong.
super strong. His stamina
Yeah,
is great.
yeah. So I feel like he's a good potential Xavi replacement, but I mean he's not as technical as Xavi. Obviously, he's a little more aggressive, quicker. But he has
Yeah,
almost the same physical presence.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's smaller than Xavi when Xavi started because I remember he's closer to being like Iniesta skinny because I remember when Xavi started, he was a tiny bit more bulky, like a thicker neck too, Um, he seemed more built up. Xavi,
Mm.
when he played with Van Gaal, I remember him playing with Van Gaal. I don't remember him before that, and I should because I've been a Barca fan since 1997. But yeah, dude, Ricky Puig would be a great addition to the team with the young, taking into consideration that then they would be taking turns on
Mm.
who stays behind when the team is attacking.
Yeah,
They can obviously. I mean, this is simple football, simple rules. Everybody should know this. You can't, you cannot all go for the same play like you're a 6-year-old, and that's what Busquets does. And by doing this, he creates chaos in the team. So everybody
yeah.
gets out of position because of him.
And it's sad because they train throughout the week as a team, and then when he goes out there, it's like he puts on the uniform and forgets the instructions. Because he stays in the same pivot role, but it's hit or miss on if he's gonna have a good game or not. And it really just depends where his brain is at because he tends to show up late to a situation. He always passes back, and that's not always what you want to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
know some people will say that's what the pivot role is supposed to be, is to diffuse the situation.
Right.
But I want a creative person who's able to push it up, be aggressive,
Right.
and be defensive at the same time.
All right, Alex, we get a question from our audience. H. Haas asks, what does La Liga need to catch up to the Premier League? And then it says, long gone are the days Barca used to be dominant in Europe.
I think part of it is, and I know you can't blame money for everything because these are giant clubs, but the way broadcasting rights have been dealt with in Europe, and not in Europe, in England, are a little different than how they were dealt with in Spain. There's more revenue sharing in the Premiership rather than in La Liga, so I think that would be one of the sources that could help bring Spain back in, specifically Barca. They already have a lot of cash flow on hand, so if you're talking about on a league level, that'd probably be one step in the right direction. It's all about broadcasting rights.
You're right. It's money that teams rely on, season by season. I remember 2 years ago when the Premier League announced their new TV rights contract. Each team was getting at least £100 million a
Hmm.
season for the TV rights. Uh, but answering to the second question or the comment that Haas um, sent us in the chat, long gone are the days Barca used to be dominant in Europe. Yes, that's entirely right, and
Hmm.
it's because of the lack of power in the midfield that the Barca team has. Because if you know, if you can see, every single strong team has a strong midfielder. It's like
Hmm.
if you're good at a sport as a one person individual, if your back is a little cracked, you're not gonna perform well. Same exact thing with the midfield in Barcelona. They are lacking energy. They are lacking attitude. They would you say they're um, conceited?
Yeah, I would say we were talking about it earlier when we were describing it earlier without directly mentioning it. The style that they play is really possession heavy. They
Give me one
think too
second.
much.
Thanks,
Sure.
Haas. Thanks, Haas, for your time in watching us. Subscribe. Thank you.
Oh yes, thank you, Hans. they spend too much time thinking on the ball, and we've said it before that when they go into the game, any game, even if it's a small team, big team, two leg, single game off, they assume they're going to win because they have possession and they think they're going to have better position on the ball. But how many games have we seen where they have 60 plus possession and a lot of shots on goal, but it's 0-0? It's the issue that Pep had even in his highlight. They were games that were at a standstill. They still produced a lot of highlights, but the issue with Barca is that they are a little conceited in how they play. And to go back to the original question of what's missing at Barca, I would agree it's the midfield. We for years we've seen Barca try and mimic the same mentality that Cruyff had. Pep brought it back for years, and the thing is, it was a really rare generation that we saw from Pep, and even before, but mainly starting with Pep instilling or reinstilling that tiki-taka mentality, complete total football mentality. He had a great set of players. We had Puyol, Xavi, and Iniesta, the dream team. The young academy had everybody coming in. So it's one of those instances where it might just be that it was that one moment in time where everything felt perfectly in line,
Right.
and now Barca's trying to recreate it over and over. But it's hard to find the ingredients again. Ingredients being the players, finding the coach, finding the board that's able to support it. And not even to mention that soccer's changed. Players like Xavi and Iniesta are no longer praised as much, mainly for their quality, yes, but people want flashy wingers. They want fast players. So it's a little different, the game that we see now, than what we saw a couple years ago. So it could be maybe Barca's trying to switch to that, and maybe they're not switching fast enough because they have fast players like Dembele, but they're not technical players.
Right.
And then the technical player that they do have, Griezmann, isn't producing right now. So it's like they're stuck between two worlds, and it's not really producing what they want.
Yeah, it's definitely not producing what they want because, as you said it a little bit before you finished your comments, ingredients. You know, you can add if you had before with Pep and Xavi and Iniesta, if you had a lasagna, a traditional lasagna, and then the marinara sauce is gone, and you cannot get it again ever again because those players are not gonna come up in another 15 years maybe. You know,
Right.
those types of players. The logic says 50 years, but I'm being
Optimistic.
optimistic and I'm putting it on 15 years. Hopefully, when we see players like Xavi or Iniesta again. So, if you're trying to make a lasagna without those ingredients, it's not going to be a lasagna. Open your
Yeah,
eyes.
it's the difference between your mom's lasagna and when you try to make it.
Right, right. No, but you get what I'm saying. You know, if you
Yeah, yeah,
have
I get
you're missing the marinara sauce. You're not gonna make a lasagna, please. Yeah. So I think, and there's still it's a bunch. It's a bunch of reasons. You know, I mean, we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes about this. We could talk for days and days about Barca's problems. You know, they're they're like endless. You know, to begin with, Barca has a terrible board. You know, bunch of people who love to fight amongst each other. You know, right now there's a rebellion
Mhm.
inside the board. You know, the club has no. It's about to lose its head. The club, six, and I'm gonna list them right now.
Yeah.
Six. Do you hear? Six people from the board have resigned today. I'm gonna list their names, and it's terrible because in order for terrible for the club,
Yeah, this kind of
Bartomeu
person is not what they need.
can please leave. I'll give it to you for free. Look, terrible for the club. Good that Bartomeu is almost out, but the rules say that if 75% of your board leaves, you are, by rules of the board, you are gone. So 6 out of 11 members are gone. So they said three more are about to leave. The six that decided to quit today. One who spoke really strongly against. He insinuated that it was Josep Maria Bartomeu, but we don't really know if he's actually talking about him. But we're thinking Emilio Rosal. He spoke and said that someone has brought in his hands into cash of the club, and he's insinuating is Josep Maria Bartomeu. Amongst with him today, this morning in Spain, also resigned Enrique Tombas, Silvio Elias, Josep Pont, Maria Teixedo, y Jordi Casalmiglia. They. Oh no, never mind. I am missing their names. I'm sorry. I apologize. The actual six people is the first vice president Jordi Carboner, the third vice president Jordi Moix, besides Emili Rosot, Joan Balde, Didac Lee, Joseph. No, you know what? I really messed up. I'm getting this information wrong. The first six that I mentioned, along with Emilio Rosod, Enrique Tombas, Emilio Elias, Josep Pont, Maria Teixedo, and Jordi Casalmiglia, those are the ones who resigned. I apologize to everyone. I got too excited between producing and leaking information. Anyway, he is two only two members of the board to resign from being, removed by basically the team's constitution. I don't know how you call it. How do you think that the team will confront that? Would you think, since the team belonged to the socios, elections would have to be called upon, right? Immediately.
That's what my guess would be. I know Joseph would probably just be trying to find any way to hold on to power right now. I don't know. I'm not really sure how the club would move forward, especially with the image being the main thing that they're focusing on.
Right.
Because they're already dealing with, again, we were talking about earlier, the shortage of funds. If they show that they don't have a unified front, it's going to affect how potential dealings come forward with not only just broadcasting rights, but potential sponsorship. So if they see weakness at the leadership level, it could ultimately affect money coming in and ultimately how we talk about signings moving forward. So if the elections are held, I'm hoping it'd be people who are trying to get him out of the presidency, or we could just hope that more people leave and then he'd be forced out automatically. So I'm not sure which situation would be better. Because if a couple more, well, it's two more, if two more or three more people leave, he'd be forced to resign. But then if they hold elections to get more people in faster than they can leave, I'm not sure if those people would be in support of Bartomeu. It's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I mean, this is really difficult, honestly. Really difficult decision that, well, basically the remaining five have to make, because they are definitely conscious that if they leave, Bartomeu will have to be removed.
Right.
There's no way around. So if what Emilio Rosot said about Bartomeu taking money, he's gotta be out, and chances are the rest of the board are not gonna take the chances, and support Bartomeu. Why would you support Bartomeu in this situation?
Yeah, there's too much around him to. It's kind of a Trump situation where there's so much around him that it's hard to negate it.
Right.
Like you just want to get ahead of it and just cut your losses.
Right.
And as the club, you want to find someone who hasn't caused as many problems as he has over the past X amount of years. I mean, a lot of people have always had things how they have always taken the direction of the club the wrong way.
Right.
I've heard that for years, so maybe this is the one time where the opportunity's presented itself to get rid of him finally.
Yeah, I mean, I've been always discontent ever since he started being the Barcelona's president uh, after Rosel's implication with fraud and all that. But he's never done an actual good job. He's when name to me, please name me a good signing by Bartomeu.
Yeah, one that's
Maybe
produced.
Rakitic. Maybe
Yeah,
Rakitic a
he's
long time ago.
yeah. Since then, it's mainly been kind of like name tag signings, something that we can put a shiny light to, but
Right,
not the best things for the club.
right. Yeah, man. So that is one of the reasons why I haven't been content with him because it's just one mistake after another and another and another. And remember, I was telling you about the entorno, the surroundings of the club.
Yeah,
I would have expect them to be a lot more harsh towards Bartomeu. To this point, it's been chaotic. Everything has been chaotic.
yeah, and especially Barcelona's not a stranger to politics bleeding into I mean, like the outside politics bleeding into the club politics. And we already see at the city level, when people are upset, they go and protest and they do everything to be heard. And this is a situation where, again, year after year, stuff happens and people complain, but nothing is really changed.
Right.
So I'm wondering if he's just a well-insulated person to the level that Busquets is, where year after year it's the same situation, but they're still there. So I'm not really sure what it is. It's people are making their complaints known. I think it's just in this case, both cases with Busquets and Bartomeu, that they're just well connected.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure what's keeping Busquets in his position is the fact that you look at him and you get the nostalgia of Xavi and Iniesta. So
Hmm.
he's living off of the inertia of people's perception of the midfield of
Yeah,
Barcelona. It's I cannot see any other logical explanation about it. It is really
yeah, and that's the thing is that they're trying to
infuriating.
build the team around him. They're trying to act like as if he's worthy of being Xavi,
Right.
and he's not. I mean, he's someone that should have been traded 2 years ago at least. Um,
Manchester City wanted him. Oh, we
it
should
would
have
have been
just
great,
given it to them.
and we would have had a lot more money. I could already see everybody falling into position a little better. If Coutinho was still on the team, he could have fell into where Iniesta's role would have been. He could
Right,
have had a real winger out on that position
right,
instead.
right. Oh, by the way, dude, Coutinho is not gonna be bought by Bayern Munich.
Bayern,
There's no way.
no.
No, they know better. They seriously
Yeah,
do.
I'm hoping that somehow Barca can get money back on that. He's not a bad player. And maybe if they put him in a better position, he'd come
Right.
back. But just keep him away from the left wing.
Yeah.
That's kind of just use him as a center. That's it. Center forward or center attacking at most. I'm hoping that.
Yeah, dude. It's gonna be weird when we come back to normal. It's gonna be
Mm.
weird. Honestly, I do not think the La Liga will resume. I highly doubt it, just because of the times. There's no way
Right.
you can bring all of the players together to do this. Like the testing is not available. Most players, for instance, are back into their countries. Cavani is in Uruguay. Uh, I bet most Brazilian players are back in Brazil because they're super nostalgic about it.
Right.
Um, it'll just be hard to get everybody together and agree, especially particularly the players associations.
Yeah, this would be a good time for all the heads of the individual clubs, or not clubs, organizations like League One, the Conforma League.
Ah, we'll be right. Welcome back, everyone. We had a technical difficulty. Our connection dropped. Um, Sorry, dude. You were saying. Do you-
I actually lost my train of thought.
um, I am the same situation. So, do you think we should call it the episode today for Cooperacha Football English?
Yeah, we can always pick up different topic next time.
Yes. We mainly again follow Barcelona, Alex and I. Follow him on his Instagram. That's his information. You're seeing it live. Today we didn't show much content, although we can show a lot of content on the screen because we were a little bit unprepared. Remember, yesterday I spent a bunch of time um, uploading a bunch of graphic cards, upgrading my graphic cards, my cooling system. So I have been investing most of my time in technical issues than in content. And obviously, the crisis is taking a lot of my attention, but we'll be a lot more prepared. Once again, follow Alex on Instagram. He's new to this, so when you start following him, you can find more information about soccer from him that he'll be posting in his Instagram. At least just comments on the football, what's going on, around the world of football. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, XH Jesse, if you like it. Share with the people you love the most. Anything else you wanna say, Alex? Say hi to someone. Say everybody to
I'll
cheer
do a
up.
PSA. PSA, everyone, stay healthy and safe. Wash your hands and try not to go out as much. Yeah, I guess that's about it.
All right. Just stay on the line, Alex. I'm gonna say goodbye to the public.
Okay.
Thank you so much for staying with us tonight. This was Jesse Silva Zacarias, known as Jesse, for the show Cooperacha Football. This is XH Jesse.